younger brothers and younger sisters and older brother. It turns out that Abu Bakar lives across diagonally from my late oldest uncle, my Pak Long's house. Of course, in the lingo I speak, we don't call him Pak Long. And I used to spend all my primary school holidays there. Of course, I'm not very much older than primary school now. Yeah? I enjoy being with you, that's the truth. Yeah? And Izam will tell you, my work keeps me busy. But it's something that means an extra dimension in my existence in this world to interact with you. Yeah? Initially, the interaction has been as an older colleague, sharing it with you as you're trying to go through and qualify. Yeah? And latterly, I'm happy that it's transcended that to a more important brotherhood and sisterhood. Because at the end of the day, these are the bonds that we will have to answer for. That's the truth. Yeah? So I'm happy to be here. Yeah? So in fact, Izam was with me today. I refer to Izam a lot because he's been bullying me. He's been doing electives with me, and he's a horrible guy. So he told me as we were having a tough turn today, don't come tonight, it's okay, this is important. You know what was going on in the hospital, it was a tough scenario. So it was as bad as that. Yeah? But that's my worldly stuff. Of course, my family need me to do my worldly stuff. Yeah? And I'm very happy to be here because it allows me to understand your makeup, your thinking, to share my thinking with you. Far be it for me to tell you, oh, this is right, this is wrong, my way is correct, your way is for improvement. Far be it for me. I'm hobbling along. My only advantage is I've been hobbling along longer. That's all. So if I've been hobbling along longer, then obviously I mustn't be as stupid as I was 25 years ago or 35 years ago. I should be a bit wiser to the ways of the world in terms of not making the same mistakes. Yeah? So from that perspective, I share with you. I don't stand here today to share with you in the perspective that I'm on a better plane. Wallah, we really don't know. We really don't know where we stand. Yeah, see, we only can work to move forward. Okay, so this is an important concept that I want to get across to you. I have no call over you until my marks are finally shown. Yeah? And we all want to aim for those marks. So let me share with you my perception of what you've asked me to talk about. Okay? As usual, there will be a bit of, next slide, there will be a bit of structured thinking in this. So there will be objectives, focus, outline. Yeah? But my daughter reprimanded me the last time badly and said, Papa, how can you run overtime so much? The last time I spoke to you. But you can tell that something switches on, you know. It's like talking of, if you like football, and you end up talking about football, before you know it, oh, you've overrun your time. So I'm going to be very flexy about things. So this is not me teaching you in the wards. This is not me giving you a lecture in the hall about academics and medicine. So we're going to be very flexi. It is me sharing my views and perception of a topic that you presented to me. You are intellects, as I told you the last time when I spoke to you about faith and function. See what appeals to your intellect. Decide what is sahih, what is correct. Go back, double check it. Yeah? And then decide if some of it will make you think your roles. And then, you know, your applications. Yeah? So what I hope to do, of course, define the topic as usual. WHO definition. I think if we're talking about Solat, then we do need to understand these things in Solat. Yeah, the call to Solat, why it's obligatory, and then cover what we mean by a responsible Muslim doctor, as opposed to any other doctor, as opposed to any Muslim doctor. And it involves you, me, us. Which means that I'm trying to establish to you that the only difference between us now is that we are at different stages of our lives in the practice of medicine. Next slide. Thanks, Asra. Okay, so definition very straightforward. Solat, if we look through the literature in Islam on Solat, a lot of it will be about supplication and dua. I'm not going to talk of that. I'm talking about obligatory Solat, and that's what Asra wants me to talk about. So obligatory Solat, Solat yang wajib atas kita. If you look about Ghazali and Solat and so on, it's all about dua and supplication. Totally different plane of discussion. Okay? Muslim, we keep to the principles of Islam, faith, yeah, the articles of faith and the articles of Islam. That is towards the concept of being Muslim. Yeah, mengucap kalimah syahadah, semayang, berpuasa, and so on, and then percaya kepada Tuhan, Nabi, Kitab. So that's concept of Muslim. Who is a Muslim? As I said, it's not about my passport, your birth certificate. At the end of the day, who's a Muslim is God's decision. And I've told you, Muslim has small m and big M. The small m is a generic Muslim. Everything that follows the will of God is Muslim. The way the sun rises, the way the sun sets, that's Muslim. But today's concept, we're going to talk about what the world sees as Muslim. Those of us who profess that Allah is our God, that Muhammad is his prophet, and we keep to the tenets of Islam. We don't eat pork, but the tenets of Islam, we pray, we buy a zakat, we fast, we go for Hajj. Okay? So the world sees us representing this Muslim Islam thing. Obviously, doctor, we know why we're here, but you'd be surprised. A lot of people walk up to us, talk to us about being doctors, but in fact they're PhDs and non-medically qualified doctors. So I'm talking about those of us who are engaged in the treatment, care and diagnosis of people. Okay? So definition done. Next slide, please. Obligation and conduct of Solat. The call to prayer, the fixed times, and in carrying out Solat, we actually have to, as Asra said, we have to have an input, a process, and then an output. So the way I put it was, we have to have a theory of Solat. That theory is knowing the fundamentals, the rukun, understanding what's desirable to be added, all the sunats, knowing the times that we can pray, the times that we cannot pray. We've got to be very clear about knowing this as correct. And all of us have become careless. Berapa rukun lah semayang? Apa dia rukun semayang? Kalau kita ikut imam, kalau kita tertinggal belakang daripada imam 3 rukun, 2 rukun, 1 rukun, bila kita berpisah dengan imam? Kalau kita terlajak lebih cepat daripada imam, what happens? So, if we know the rukun, then we know, 3 rukun selepas imam, that we have split from the imam, we are praying on our own. Contohlah. So, it's good for us, off and on, to remind ourselves of the fundamental issues that form one of the pillars of our faith. Very important. Yeah? So that's the theory bit. The practical bit, of course, how do we stand? Where do we look? Do we look down and where we sujood? Do we look forward? When we're praying in Makkah, do we look at the Kaabah? The mazhabs are slightly different. Do we keep our eyes closed? Do we keep our eyes open? You read it, you find out. I'll show you some references later. For mazhab Syafi'i, tengok mana kamu sujud, mata buka. But if you find that you are distracted, mata tutup. So you find out, but there's lots to know in the theory of prayers that you can spend a whole thesis on. Okay, and then the practicality of it. Of course, like everything else, be it winning a football game, becoming a good doctor, it's about the heart in you when you pray. When I was in matriculation, they tried to make it compulsory. They made it compulsory for all students to pray together kat surau for Maghrib or Isha, I can't remember. Yeah? And I couldn't understand. I was in a responsible position in that school, although I came into matriculation. Yeah? And I couldn't understand. I am made to enforce this rule, but our Timbalan Pengetua, who is actually the prefect master, is not switched on about it. And he's a wise old 55 or 54-year-old man, So one day I had to have a chat with him. I said, you want us to enforce this, and then you don't reprimand. And he said, prayer is something that's a connection between you and God. And that's one of the unique connections of our prayers in Islam. We do not need intermediaries. I was told it's a direct telephone line to God. Subuh 2, Zuhur 4, Asar 4, Maghrib 3, Isya 4. Telephone number dia 244434. It's a direct line call to God. I mean, it's metaphorical, trying to get the concept across that we do not need an intermediary. And the great thing about our prayer is, Auzubillah, I've got a fractured hip, I'm born with no 2 legs, I still can pray. I've got locked-in syndrome. What's locked-in syndrome? Okay. And I still can pray. Which is different from vegetative syndrome. Okay. So as long as berakal, waras, Islam, baligh,